GENTELMAN. When we talk about intimacy, most people immediately imagine the physical side. They think about what happens in the bedroom as if it exists in a vacuum, separate from everything else in a relationship. But here's the truth that often gets overlooked. A woman cannot fully give herself in that space unless she feels emotionally safe outside of it. Love, real love, is what creates the conditions for her to open up, to surrender her fears, and to step into that intimacy without hesitation. Without that sense of safety, intimacy becomes an act of restraint, a performance, something that feels more like a duty than a desire. But when she feels safe in love, everything changes. Emotional safety is not about saying the right words once or twice. It is about creating an environment where she knows, deep down, without question, that she is accepted, that her heart, her flaws, her insecurities are not going to be used against her. It's when she knows that she doesn't have to hide the parts of herself she finds messy or imperfect. That's when intimacy stops being guarded and it starts being genuine. A woman who feels loved in this way will reveal parts of herself that she would never show otherwise, because real intimacy is not just about bodies touching. It's about two people allowing themselves to be seen fully without armor. Think about it this way: when a woman is in a space where she fears rejection, criticism, or judgment, her body will protect her. It will close off, hold back, resist. You can't demand openness when her heart feels unsafe. But when love is real, when love makes her feel secure, her body responds differently. It relaxes. It lets go. It doesn't guard. It gives. That's why emotional safety isn't just a psychological need. It's the gateway to physical connection. You cannot separate the two. No matter how much our culture tries to convince us otherwise, this is why real love is so powerful. It tells her, you're safe here. You can be exactly who you are. You don't have to perform for me. You don't have to earn my affection. You don't have to fear being abandoned if you show me the parts of you that are fragile. That's the invisible contract love creates. And when a woman feels that contract is honored, she stops holding back. She doesn't just let you see the polished version of herself. She allows you into the raw, unfiltered reality of her being. And that is the moment when intimacy shifts from mechanical to magical. It's not about a position or a technique. It's about what happens when she no longer feels the need to protect herself from you. That's when her touch is different, when her eyes meet yours without walls, when her passion flows without her second guessing whether it's too much or not enough. Safety creates freedom, and freedom creates desire. But let's be clear, emotional safety is not something you declare once. It's something you demonstrate daily. It's in the consistency of your presence, in the way you listen when she speaks, in the way you handle conflict, in whether you choose compassion over criticism. It's in whether she can trust your actions, not just your promises. A woman knows when love is real because real love shows up again and again, even in the smallest details. And here's the irony: when emotional safety is missing, no amount of effort in the bedroom can compensate for it. You can try harder, you can perform, you can push, but it will never unlock what love naturally unlocks. Because only love can reach into the deepest part of her and tell her, you are safe, you are seen, you are wanted as you are. And that, more than anything else, is what frees her to respond with authenticity, with desire, with a kind of intimacy that is impossible to fake. When you understand this, you realize intimacy isn't just a physical act. It's the reflection of everything that happens outside of it. The way you treat her in the small moments, those are the keys that open the doors in the bedroom. Real love makes her body, her heart, her spirit respond in ways nothing else can. Because at the end of the day, passion is not born out of technique, it's born out of trust. And trust is born out of love. And that is why only real love can make a woman do things in bed she would never do for anything less. Vulnerability is one of the most misunderstood elements of intimacy. Many people think it is a weakness, something you should hide or control. But when it comes to love, vulnerability is not weakness. It is power. It is the moment when a woman says without words, I trust you enough to let you see the parts of me I usually protect. And here is the key. That level of vulnerability doesn't come from desire alone. It comes from love. Because only real love has the strength to transform fear into openness and insecurity into connection. When a woman feels genuinely loved, she no longer fears that her openness will be used against her. She doesn't worry that her imperfections will push you away. Instead, she finds safety in that love, and that safety allows her to be vulnerable in ways she would never be with someone who hasn't earned her trust. Vulnerability in this space is not just about sharing secrets or admitting fears. It's about how she allows her emotions and desires to merge, without shame, without hesitation. It is the courage to be unmasked. Desire that springs from love is different from desire that springs from novelty or attraction. Attraction can ignite quickly, but it can also fade just as fast. Love, on the other hand, deepens desire. When a woman feels cherished, when she feels seen for more than her body, she allows herself to show the kind of passion that cannot be manufactured. Vulnerability becomes the gateway to that passion. It is the point where she stops asking, "Am I too much?" or "Am I not enough?" and starts expressing herself freely. And that freedom is intoxicating. Think of it like this: intimacy without love often feels like a stage. There is a script, a performance, a sense of doing rather than being. But intimacy with love feels like a dance. There is flow, improvisation, and presence. She is not performing, she is connecting. That shift is the result of vulnerability made possible through love. When she feels that love is real, she lets go of the need to protect herself and allows her authentic self to shine through. And that is where intimacy becomes unforgettable. Because the truth is, a woman can go through the motions in bed without love, but she cannot give her full emotional self without it. And when she does give that emotional self, when she is truly vulnerable, the entire experience changes. It is not just her body that is present, it is her soul. And when her soul is present, the connection is electric. It is the difference between a spark that burns out and a fire that keeps glowing long after the moment has passed. But it's important to understand that vulnerability requires constant reassurance. It is not something a woman can offer once and then forget. It's a continual exchange built through consistent love, consistent care, consistent respect. Every time you honor her vulnerability, she becomes more willing to give. Every time you dismiss or betray it, she closes off. That is why real love is not just about words. It is about actions that show her, day after day, that her openness is safe with you. When love is present, vulnerability doesn't feel like a risk. It feels like a gift. And that gift allows her to enter a level of intimacy that cannot be reached through desire alone. She will laugh freely, touch without hesitation, speak her desires without holding back. She will allow you to see her in her rawness, in her fragility, in her strength. And in doing so, she will also awaken parts of herself that remain hidden without love. This is what makes intimacy so deeply human. It is not about achieving perfection. It is about allowing imperfection to be held in a space of love. Vulnerability says, "Here I am, all of me, the beautiful and the flawed." And when that offering is met with acceptance, the intimacy that follows is unlike anything else. Because the truth is, vulnerability is the secret ingredient that transforms intimacy into something extraordinary. It is not the pose, it is not the move, it is not the performance. It is the courage to let go of the walls. And only real love can create the safety to make that possible. That is why the deepest passion does not come from fear or fantasy, but from love. Because only love has the power to turn vulnerability into desire, and desire into a connection that lingers far beyond the moment. When intimacy is stripped of love, it often becomes performance. Two people may share the same bed, yet they are not truly sharing themselves. They go through motions, they imitate what they think intimacy should look like, they put on a kind of show. And for a while, that performance can even feel convincing. But deep down, both people know something is missing. There is no true connection, no sense of being seen, no real emotional presence. It is surface-level intimacy, and surface-level intimacy will never create the depth that love makes possible. Love changes the entire dynamic. In real love, a woman no longer feels the need to perform. She doesn't need to pretend. She doesn't need to guess at what's expected. She doesn't need to hide her own desires to please someone else. Instead, she begins to express. She expresses her joy, her longing, her playfulness, her curiosity. She allows the experience to become about connection rather than duty. And when intimacy shifts from performance to connection, everything becomes richer. It becomes slower in some moments, more passionate in others, more real in every sense. This is why the most unforgettable intimacy isn't perfect. It's authentic. It's not about whether the script is followed flawlessly. It's about whether two people are truly present with one another. Real love creates the conditions for that presence. When she feels loved, she feels free to be genuine, even if that means being imperfect. She doesn't worry about whether she looks a certain way, whether she's meeting some invisible standard. She can laugh, she can be playful, she can let the moment unfold naturally instead of trying to control it. And here is the irony: the more authentic she feels, the more deeply intimate the experience becomes. What creates magic in the bedroom is not performance. It's presence. The way she can look into your eyes and know that you are not just there for the physical act, but for her. The way her body responds when she knows that your love is not conditional on how she performs, but on who she is. That is what turns intimacy into a living, breathing connection. Connection over performance also means she feels empowered to communicate. When love is real, she trusts that her desires will not be dismissed, that her voice matters. She can say what she wants, what she likes, what feels good, and she can say it without fear of being judged. And that honesty creates a deeper passion than any role, playing, or performance ever could. Because when she communicates from a place of love, intimacy becomes a dialogue rather than a monologue. It becomes something created together, not something acted out separately. Too often, people confuse intensity with connection. They think that if something looks passionate from the outside, it must be fulfilling on the inside. But the truth is, intensity without love often burns out quickly. Connection, on the other hand, grows. It may not always look dramatic, but it feels profound. And that feeling, that deep knowing that intimacy is rooted in love, is what keeps two people coming back to each other again and again, not because they have to, but because they want to. And that is what makes intimacy sustainable. Performance gets tiring. It drains you, it wears on you, it creates distance rather than closeness. But connection nourishes. It gives energy, it creates closeness, it deepens the bond instead of eroding it. A woman who feels loved will not perform, she will connect. And in that connection, she will give more of herself than performance could ever provide. This is why real love transforms intimacy. It allows a woman to step out of the role of performer and step into the role of partner. It allows her to bring her heart, her body, her mind, and her soul into the experience. And when she does that, intimacy stops being just an act. It becomes a union. Because at the end of the day, what we remember is not the performance, it's the connection. We don't remember the rehearsed lines, we remember the moments of authenticity, the laughter, the closeness, the way two people felt like one. That is the gift of real love. It shifts intimacy from something done to something shared, and only then does it become the kind of experience that lingers long after the moment has passed. There is a side to every woman that most of the world never gets to see. It's the side that is playful, uninhibited, adventurous, sometimes even wild. But here's the truth: she will not reveal that side to someone who hasn't earned her trust. That version of her does not come alive through casual attraction or shallow desire. It only emerges in the presence of real love, because real love creates the kind of safety that allows her to let go of inhibition. Without that foundation, she holds back. She stays guarded. She gives you only the surface. But when she feels deeply loved, when she knows without a doubt that her vulnerability is safe with you, she unlocks a part of herself that feels limitless. It's not about rebellion or losing control. It's about the freedom that comes from trust. When she trusts that your love is steady, that your affection is not conditional, that she can show up in every shade of herself and still be embraced, her body and her spirit stop resisting. And when resistance falls away, so does inhibition. Suddenly, she is not thinking about how she looks, or whether she is being judged, or whether she is too much. She is present, she is expressive, she is alive in the moment with you. That is the kind of intimacy that real love makes possible, and that freedom isn't just about being more passionate or more adventurous. It's about being more authentic. She will laugh louder, play harder, touch more boldly. She will take risks in expressing her desires because she knows that nothing she reveals will be used against her. Nothing will diminish your love for her. Trust is the fuel that ignites that flame, and love is what keeps it burning. Without it, she may go through the motions, but she will never truly surrender. With it, she offers you the most unfiltered version of herself, the one that few ever get to experience. Think about how much energy is consumed when someone is self-conscious, when they are overthinking every move, every word, every reaction. That energy becomes a barrier to connection. But when love removes those barriers, all that energy is redirected into passion, into closeness, into the freedom to explore what intimacy can really be. And this is why the deepest, most unforgettable moments in bed are never about perfection. They are about presence without fear. They are about being so rooted in love that she feels she can lose herself, knowing that you will hold her there. This is also where playfulness comes in. Playfulness in intimacy is often overlooked, but it is one of the most beautiful gifts love creates. When she feels safe, she can let go of the seriousness, the need to get it right, and simply allow herself to enjoy. She can laugh, she can tease, she can experiment. And paradoxically, it is in that playfulness that intimacy often becomes the most passionate because it's infused with joy and spontaneity. Love creates a playground where nothing feels forced and everything feels possible. What happens in those moments is a kind of expansion. She expands beyond the version of herself that the world usually sees. She expands beyond her own doubts and fears. She expands into her fullest self because love has given her the permission to do so. And when she expands, intimacy expands too. It becomes deeper, richer, more layered than anything a performance could ever provide. That is the power of love. It doesn't just create passion. It unlocks parts of her soul that have been waiting for the right conditions to emerge. And perhaps this is the greatest difference between intimacy built on desire alone and intimacy built on love. Desire alone can ignite sparks, but love creates the kind of trust that lets her unleash the fire. She will let you see the side of her that is untamed, because she knows your love is strong enough to hold it. She will reveal the version of herself that is bold, unrestrained, and deeply passionate, not because she has to, but because she wants to. Because when a woman feels truly loved, trust doesn't just open her heart, it unleashes her soul. And that is when she gives you not just her body, but the most powerful, unguarded, and unforgettable parts of herself. Real love has this beautiful way of extending beyond the walls of the bedroom. It doesn't limit passion to a single space or a single act. It infuses it into everything a couple shares. When a woman feels loved, truly loved, intimacy doesn't just happen when the lights are low and the doors are closed. It happens in the way she reaches for your hand when you're walking together. It happens in the way her eyes soften when she looks at you across the room. It happens in the quiet gestures, the subtle touches, the unspoken language that flows between two people who know they are connected. This is the difference between passion that is shallow and passion that is rooted. Shallow passion can be intense, but it's fleeting. It burns bright in moments and then disappears when the circumstances change. But the kind of passion born from love has staying power. It seeps into everyday life. It lingers in conversations, in laughter, in shared silences. It means that intimacy is not a performance you prepare for, but a natural extension of the bond you share. And when that bond exists, intimacy becomes less about physical release and more about reinforcing connection. For a woman, this matters deeply, because when she knows that your love is consistent outside of the bedroom, she feels freer inside of it. The way you hold her hand when she's anxious, the way you listen when she speaks, the way you support her when life feels heavy, these moments matter. They build trust, and trust is the soil where passion grows. Every act of love outside the bedroom makes her more open inside of it, because it reminds her that intimacy with you is not conditional, it's not transactional, it's sacred. And this is why real love makes intimacy richer over time. Without love, physical attraction often fades. What was once exciting can quickly become routine. But with love, attraction deepens. It becomes layered with history, with shared moments, with emotional closeness. Every glance carries meaning, every touch carries memory, every embrace carries reassurance. That's what makes intimacy with love so different. It's not just the body responding, it's the whole person. There's also an ease that comes with it. When passion is built on real love, it doesn't require constant effort or performance to sustain. It flows naturally because the connection is already there. She doesn't have to question whether she's enough or whether you're present with her, because love has already answered those questions. That security gives her the freedom to give more, to express more, to surrender more. And in that surrender, intimacy transforms. It becomes less about what happens in bed and more about how the relationship itself feels alive. The truth is, the most passionate couples are not the ones who chase constant novelty. They are the ones who nurture love in the little things. They understand that intimacy is a continuum. It begins with the small acts of care throughout the day, and it culminates in the physical expression of that care at night. When a woman feels loved in those small ways, her desire is not something forced, it's something natural. It's her body and her heart responding to the consistency of your love. That's why real passion cannot be faked. You can imitate the gestures, you can rehearse the moves, but you cannot replicate the way love transforms a touch. You cannot fake the tenderness that comes from trust, or the fire that comes from being seen, or the closeness that comes from being cherished. Only real love can create those layers. And once those layers are there, intimacy becomes more than just something you do, it becomes something you live. So when a woman loves and feels loved, her passion doesn't turn off when the night ends. It follows her into the morning, into the way she speaks to you, into the way she cares for you, into the way she looks at you even when nothing is happening. That's the kind of intimacy that sustains itself because it's fueled not by fleeting attraction, but by the constancy of love. Because at the end of the day, real intimacy is not measured only by what happens between the sheets. It's measured by how love turns every ordinary moment into something extraordinary. And only real love has the power to make passion not just an act, but a way of being together. What makes love so remarkable is its ability to transform fleeting moments into something lasting. Intimacy without love may bring pleasure, but it rarely leaves behind a legacy. It is here today, gone tomorrow, memorable perhaps in sensation, but empty in meaning. Real love, on the other hand, takes intimacy and elevates it. It turns it into a language, a rhythm, a thread that ties two people together in ways that extend far beyond a single night. When a woman feels truly loved, her intimacy is not just about the physical. It is about building something that lasts, something that strengthens over time, something that becomes a cornerstone of the relationship itself. This is why intimacy in real love feels different. It's not about a temporary escape or a momentary thrill. It's about reinforcing a bond. Every touch, every glance, every moment of closeness becomes part of a larger story. It becomes memory, it becomes history, it becomes connection that builds with each passing day. And that is why intimacy in love often feels deeper as the years go on. The body may change, the routines of life may shift, but the connection grows stronger because it is not built on performance or novelty. It is built on love. A woman who feels loved carries that love into every expression of intimacy. Her desire becomes layered with meaning. It's not simply passion for the sake of passion. It's passion that says, we belong to each other. We have built something together. We are not just sharing a bed, we are sharing a life. That shift is profound. It changes the way intimacy feels because it is no longer just about the present moment. It is about the continuation of a love story that both people are writing together. And that is what makes real intimacy powerful. It creates continuity. It connects the ladder you shared in the morning with the closeness you share at night. It ties the struggles you've overcome as a couple to the tenderness you feel in each other's arms. It makes intimacy not just physical release, but a reaffirmation of love, of choice, of devotion. Each moment in bed becomes part of a legacy of closeness that carries you both through the seasons of life. This is why intimacy in real love never grows old. It doesn't diminish with time, it evolves. Without love, passion often fades as familiarity sets in. But with love, familiarity becomes an asset, not a burden. It becomes the comfort of knowing each other so well that intimacy feels effortless, the joy of exploring deeper layers of connection, because the foundation is secure, the beauty of passion that has matured and ripened with time. Love doesn't erase desire, it deepens it, makes it more meaningful, makes it endure. For a woman, this transformation is especially powerful. She isn't giving herself out of obligation or fear of losing you. She is giving herself because she knows she is part of something bigger. She knows her love is reciprocated, valued, celebrated. That knowledge allows her to express intimacy as a gift, not just an act. It becomes her way of saying, without words, this is ours. This is sacred. This is forever. And that is what makes intimacy in love so rare. It is not about what happens in a single night, but about how those nights accumulate into a shared life. And when you look back years later, those moments are not remembered as isolated experiences. They become part of the fabric of your relationship. You may not remember every detail, but you remember how it felt. You remember the safety, the connection, the passion that was more than physical. It was emotional, spiritual, unifying. And that memory sustains you. It keeps you close even when life gets difficult, even when routines threaten to dull the spark. Love ensures the spark doesn't fade. It ensures it transforms into a flame that lasts. Because in the end, intimacy born from real love is not just about pleasure. It is about building a legacy of closeness, of trust, of desire that matures with time. It becomes a reminder that love is not static. It grows, it expands, it leaves a mark. And only real love can create that kind of intimacy, the kind that lingers long after the night is over, the kind that shapes not just your connection in bed, but the story of your life together. Because when love is real, intimacy is not just an experience, it is a legacy. And that legacy becomes the most powerful proof that passion and devotion, when rooted in love, never fade, they only grow stronger.